when someone owns a studio, right, they're the boss. So that means every one of those people, from the producer all the way down the list to the publisher, okay, have an obligation to the recording studio owner. They have to answer to them, but what they should want most is to have results. Okay? That's what they're supposed to be there for, and that's what that is supposed to be about. That's why a recording studio owner would hire every one of these people to have on board. Now, next of all, why stop there? Do you know how simple and easy it is to establish your own independent record label? You know what they said, like some people said, go big or go home. And you're already home, so while you're home, go big. Right? Why not? You established your own home recording studio. Why stop now? Publish your music through your own record label. Okay, how easy and simple it is to establish your own independent, legitimate, officially recognized, and even industry recognized record label. No one in the music industry, no person that's elite or otherwise, can deny the fact or the truth of the matter that the only thing necessary to launch a record label, and they knew this, they did this, that's where most likely where they started. That's most likely where they started. These are binding laws, okay? To be officially recognized as a recording studio and recognized and acknowledged as such. And also what I mean by recognized is this, okay? Is that when you follow these steps, a major record label, nor any other record label of any sorts legitimate, okay, cannot deny the fact that you are a legitimately recognized, owned, and operated record label. And so, therefore, you cannot be despised. Do not let anyone despise you. If anyone's going to try to snub you and saying, you're not a major record label, or you're not even a record label, when you follow these steps, and you've taken these steps, yes, you are. And if anyone tries to snub you, they're either conceited or just plain ignorant. All right? So what do you need? All right. First of all, you have to have either your own recording studio or the money in a budget, your budget, to purchase studio time at someone else's studio. You have to have an artist in retail. If he's on CD Baby, if she's selling her music on iTunes, whatever, that's an artist in retail. And you have to have an artist in development, and perhaps that's you or someone else. And then you have to file for a D.B.A., which means that's a doing business as. So that's your handle. That's going to be the name of your record label. As you see here, Top Cat Jimmy Studios, Tiger Cub record label. It says retro label, but it's a record label. And it is retro because I'm from the 70s. But your music and your style, original vintage style, okay, established 2010 when I first took up the guitar. Because that's when I was established as a musician. And my dreams began then. Not to necessarily own a record label, but I started being able to compose. But the seed was there. It was planted. And it was there. It just had to grow. It's still there. And growing. So the thing of it is, D.B.A. is your handle, man. It's your so-called, they say, fictitious name. Okay, I want to refer you to someone. Now, I've started my own business before, okay? Not about music, something else. It was about clothing. So, I discovered LegalZoom. That's who I want to tell you about. I discovered LegalZoom back in 2005, 2006, when I was starting that business I was telling you about. I did not use their services, but I stumbled upon them and looked into their website and company and said, wow, you know what? If I ever need them in the future, that's great. So in 2013, I started using their services. It's just, to me, it brings more assurance. It's like having lawyers. It's like having a legal team. So now I use LegalZoom services for my copyrights, and I use them to file for my D.B.A. And with LegalZoom, at $29 a month, I'm not being paid by them for this, okay? They are not sponsoring me. I'm trying to help you out, all right? And I'm getting nothing out of it for that note from anyone as far as LegalZoom goes, all right? I'm just trying to share with you and show you that with LegalZoom, at $29 a month, it makes me a premium member. And what I found out about the advantages of that is that if I need any type of legal advice on anything, I can call and speak with their lawyers for at least a free 30-minute consultation on anything, okay? So I went to LegalZoom for my D.B.A., okay? It cost me, that's not $35, okay? But as a premium member, I saved hundreds of dollars. I went through them and they did all the work. I got online, I filed for a D.B.A. through them, and it was as simple as, what name do I want to give my record label, etc., okay? And I paid them $200 and some. That's it. And I saved hundreds of dollars because without a premium membership, it would have cost me the full amount. What they did is they filed the paperwork with my county. I got it from LegalZoom eventually, okay, that the D.B.A. is filed for with my county. They filed for, the LegalZoom filed for my FEIN number, Federal Employer Identification Number, Federal Employer Employee Identification Number. All right, they filed for my state tax ID number, the whole 9 yards. So to get a D.B.A., you have to put an ad in one of your local newspapers in the legal notices section for 3 different weeks. 1 day per week of each of those 3 weeks in a row that you are starting a record label. That's just what they require. So LegalZoom found one of my local newspapers, submitted this to them. The newspaper ran the ad in the legal notices 3 different times in 3 different weeks of their newspaper, therefore sent to me that I now was to take down to the county, and the only thing I have to do after that, because the county was expecting me, was to go submit those proofs of the legal notices and pay the $25 to the county to file that registration with them for the D.B.A. Then from there, you can go get a business bank account. You're actually going to be accountable, though, to the U.S. Treasury Department because of taxes. Even if you're not making any money. You don't have to pay no money then if you're not making any. If you've got nothing to declare, then be honest and say, I've made nothing when you file your tax returns. And they will expect nothing. You just put zero, but you file your tax returns, and you may end up doing those quarterly. 4 times per month, once every 3 months. So, anyway, you can own your own record label, whether you're making any money on it or not. But wouldn't it be nice for you to just own your own record label regardless? Because if you have a recording studio or money to pay for studio time somewhere else, in this case we're talking to home recording studio owners, so you therefore, and to the rest of you, but if you don't have your own home recording studio, then have the money in the budget to purchase studio time, let's say, from a studio, whether that's a commercial recording studio or a home recording studio, if someone's willing. Okay. Yet to you home recording studio owners, you already have of those prerequisites to legitimately be recognized as a record label. You already have your own home recording studio, so you don't have to worry about money for studio time. Have an artist in retail, have an artist in development, and have your D.B.A. Those 4 things, and you can have your own record label. And how do you think that all the other major record labels got their start? What do you think makes all those major record labels record labels? It's got to be official first. So in order to be official, they have to have those things too. They have to have a recording studio or money. I'm talking, look. A record label is different from a recording studio. They are 2 different things, right? So a record label has to have money to go to a recording studio to purchase airtime for their artists in order to produce albums. So you are in a total place of advantage if you own your own home recording studio. So you are in a total place of advantage even if you don't own your own record label. And yet, you, as a home recording studio owner, can become a record label. You can own your own record label. You have the studio. You have the studio time. You don't have to be concerned about money in the budget for studio time because you have a recording studio. So those major labels have to have the money to purchase studio time in a recording studio for their artists so that they can produce their albums. So what happens is a lot of record labels do end up building their own recording studios. But you have your own home recording studio first, right? How prestigious. So those major record labels, they have to have studio time. They have to have an artist in retail. Just one. You know, that's all it takes. For all these major record labels out there, all they needed was one. Now you know it. They know it. They've known it. Now you know it. And they needed an artist in development. So they needed that artist in retail and that artist in development and a D.B.A. You think they got some other special paperwork or something for them? You think they got some other special paperwork to have established their own record label? No, they went to their county and did the same thing I'm telling you that I did. They are no better than you. They may be more rich than you, but they're not any better than you. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking big? Now, in this case, I want to protect myself concerning my music besides. And primarily, that's what I use them for. So, for $29 a month, here's what happens. Okay, when you file for a copyright on your own, are you going to be guaranteed and assured you're not going to get jerked around by the U.S. Copyright Office? So when you file that, they charge $35 for you to file that copyright. Now, what happens is LegalZoom, when a member of theirs for $29 a month, what happens is I get the premium membership, and though if I'm not a premium member, if I wanted to use their services to file my copyright, to have lawyers on my side, here's what would happen. They would charge me, it would cost me $114 for one copyright filing for their services, plus the $35 to file. What was it, $149 or something like that total, if my math is right? They would take the $114, put it in their pocket, and $35 of that, and send that to the U.S. Copyright Office that the Copyright Office requires, and they would file for that copyright for your song, let's say, or any other copyright you're doing. In this case, music. Well, as a premium member for $29 a month with LegalZoom, I can file for as many copyrights as I want to per month at the cost of only $35 for the copyright, and they waive the $114 fee that LegalZoom would charge. They waive that $114 fee every single time I file a copyright. They waive it. So it's only going to cost me $35 for the copyright. You know what I have to do in order to file for my copyright? Here's what I have to do. I send in my song in an MP3 version by going to their website online, right? I have an account with them. You can create an account with them. It's free. And I go to where I can submit that file, the MP3 file, on their website. I upload it. I put in the details, typing it in. Pay my money with my debit card online. They take care of the rest. It's done. Matter of fact, I just did that for another copyright with them. And also, I've filed a number of copyrights through them and have got them every single time without a hassle. I was sent my official U.S. copyright certificates from and by the U.S. Copyright Office on every single copyright I've filed for my songs. And I've used LegalZoom every single time to file the copyright for those songs. And I just filed another one, okay, here in the beginning of February for my latest song, Starting From Scratch. And I just got the paperwork in saying it's filed. They sent it to me. Now, you'll get email confirmations and all this other stuff too besides. But I did get the paperwork from LegalZoom. It's officially filed with the U.S. Copyright Office. Matter of fact, I just got a copyright certificate in January of this year from another song, all right? Because of filing with the LegalZoom and having no problem and no hassle. When you follow these steps, a major record label, nor any other record label of any sorts legitimate, okay, cannot deny the fact that you are a legitimately recognized, owned, and operated record label. And so, therefore, you cannot be despised. Do not let anyone despise you. If anyone's going to try to snub you and say, you're not a major record label, or you're not even a record label, when you follow these steps, and you've taken these steps, yes, you are. And if anyone tries to snub you, they're either conceited or just plain ignorant. All right? And there's two different ways of being ignorant, right? There's a way of being ignorant that they're just plain rude. The other one is that they're ignorant. They don't have the knowledge, all right? But yet, if they're still going to try to deny the fact that you have your own legitimate record label, and they're not being conceited and they're just being dumb about it, well, then they're just dumb, okay? And let them be. And if anyone's trying to snub you, saying you're not a record label, then they're just conceited, all right, and ignorant. So that is, if you followed these steps, then yes, you are. Don't let them deny you, and do not let them talk you out of it. So, man, like the Bible says in Timothy, there's 2 books in there, but one of those 2 books in Timothy says, let no one despise your youth. He was talking, Paul the Apostle was talking to young Timothy. Paul was the aged, and, Timothy was the younger, and it was his sidekick, his, apprentice. Paul was the mentor, and he said, let no man despise you. He said, let no man despise your youth. So let no one despise you. And what I'm saying here is you can apply that in other areas of life, such as you're young in the recording industry. You're young as far as a young record label goes. But you are a record label even if you're young. Even if you're a young record label. So let no one despise you. Hold your head up. Pull your shoulders back. Stick your chest out. And walk with your head held up high. And like one person says, act like you're going somewhere and walk with the purpose. Back in 2005, 2006, when I was starting that business I was telling you about. As far as those things go, I have done all those things my own self. I used to be an independent veterans advocate on top of it, officially recognized by the government. And so I would do all these things. I would file this paperwork. I was known as a non-attorney representative for some people, okay, because of things I was doing for them, representing them, advocating for them before the government, winning their claims, whatnot, okay. And I used to do a lot of this paperwork. Whereas before I was the so-called non-lawyer legal team, okay, and willing, ready, and able to contend, all right, yet now I just want to make sure that I'm protected. So I went to LegalZoom and I filed for all my own things. I filed for my own, I drew up the logo for my business. I filed for the copyright. I filed for the trademark, for the name. I incorporated it, so I filled out and filed the incorporation papers, and it was approved. I was a legitimate business. It was a legitimate business. I was given a federal employer identification number, a tax ID number from the feds. Besides, if I'm selling something, hiring employees, I got a state tax ID number. I got everything that was required, the bank account, the business bank account, the whole 9 yards. Okay? It was a legitimate business known as a corporation. When you go to start a business and you want to file for it legitimately, legally, before Uncle Sam, let's say, before the world, there's 4 or 5 types of businesses that you will check off one of those boxes of which one you're becoming. Like you got LLC. I didn't mean LL Cool J, but LLC, Limited Liabilities Company or Corporation. Then you have incorporated, and then you've got, people who just want to be independent or whatnot, okay? So check that out. Take a look at those business types, and you'll see what I'm talking about. However, the thing about incorporating something, it protects you personally. Because if you just have I say a regular business, and yes, it's filed for, the paperwork's filed for before the government, and you're legit, still, if they're not incorporated or even LLC, if their company gets sued, they also personally can get sued. The only thing about a corporation is you just have to take a few extra steps and do a little extra work to protect yourself. And if your company gets sued, you personally cannot. Not in a corporation, not when it's incorporated. Limited liabilities, you might be able to, but it's very limited. Okay? So incorporated protects you. The biggest thing is it just takes a little extra work. A lot of people just do not want to take those extra steps. Okay? And so they don't. And so they don't incorporate, and yet, to me, that leaves them vulnerable. That if their company gets sued, they can get sued too. Personally. Anyway, so I have those 8 positions of responsibility here, but I also have number 9 because I am an indie record label owner. All right? And so what goes into that, I'm just going to sum it up in 2 positions. CEO and administration. Yes, I'm my own secretary. I'm my own secretary on all of this without the record label. I am primarily the home recording studio owner, and I'm the producer. Okay, and all those other things I mentioned to you previous, and I am also the administrator. I do the admin work. In other words, I am my own secretary. I have to do all those things myself. My own filings for, well, let's see, the files in my computer, answer my own emails. Let's see, what else? Publish my own music, put it up online. Also, I have to be my own janitor. So I have to clean up my own studio, etc. So there's more than those 8 positions. I'm just going to say underneath publisher, we're going to say administration, okay? And I'm my own secretary on that note. And then, of course, we could put in janitor there too. And then CEO, admin of an independent record label. So these are the things. That I do. But don't you want to grow? Don't get stagnant. Increase. Do not decrease. All right? And like Arnold says, I want to bump you up. All right, so let's do this, man. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Rocky. Don't tell Adrian I'm down here having a beer. All right, you know what I mean. But anyhow, this is Top Cat Jimmy. Thanks for tuning in to my channel. I say God bless you, sayonara, adios, and we'll see you again the next time.